Okay, I've started this whole thing over. This is my little test piece that I did the other day, and I really liked it. Just kind of happened right off. So here I have a little bit of a drawing of the tree, and I'm just going to use some burnt umber, and I'm putting it on a little strong. Now in the picture, the limbs are lighter, and you could do that too. I think it's a little harder to pull off. I'm just going to do it like this. So the thing is, if you're a little rough, maybe your hand shakes a little bit or something, that really makes for a better looking tree. I think these are olive trees. I don't really know what they are, truth be known. So something like that. I've got pretty strong paint here. Because I can weaken that, but I want at least part of it to stay really strong. So let's put in a couple of parts here. I'll just make something up there too. These limbs just seem to have a lot of wiggles in them, which I think makes them really attractive. Okay, so that's not quite all of it, but let's just take that. Let's just drop in a little water here and there. Is this on kind of strong? Don't drop it everywhere, just in a couple, 3 or 4 places like that. Might even let it sit and see what it's going to do. It's kind of washing some areas back a little bit. But then if you give it a little blot, so you can get an uneven area. See, some areas are darker than others because the areas that have got wet come up more than the rest of it. I kind of like that. That's a real easy way, easy, fast way. We'll go ahead and do these little limbs. And remember, this should be wet enough that it flows off your brush. It's concentrated enough to, have some real color to it, but it's still able to flow off the brush. I can't say that enough times. All right. So, you might wait a few seconds, whatever. I'll just drop a little water in that one because that one's drier. This is pretty, I don't know, let's just barely touch it. Yeah, like that. Okay. I might come back and add a little bit more to some of these places. See, this is still damp, so you get that mingling. I like that light spot there. You're designing a tree. Oh, okay. You know what? I think that's really pretty. Oh, okay. Hi. Back. Okay, I've got some olive green made here. I just used ultramarine and a little bit of Quinn Gold. It's more ultramarine than Quinn Gold. And I have this fabulous sponge. See, I designed that myself. Okay, so you can see that it's got really nice big openings in it, and not little bitty fine ones. It's got big ones, or big-ish. And then I've kind of made an edge there in case I wanted to make that tree like, I don't know. These things just sort of happen. All right, so now the harder you press, and I've picked up quite a bit there. And you probably need a little more paint mix than you would if you were just using a brush, because a little's going to get lost in the sponge. The harder I press, the more coverage I'll get. I'm going to start out real gently, all right? Oh, yeah. See, doesn't that just look like foliage? Isn't that great? Okay. I knew you'd be excited. So you have to be careful that it doesn't look just stamp, 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 though. So I've got to turn my sponge different directions. See, that's drying a lot lighter than it's going on. I'll go back in some of these places more than once with a sponge. Let's just pick up a little Quinn Gold, or that's some kind of gold. Tell you what, let's get a little Quinn Gold out here. I can't live without Quinn Gold. Okay, there's Quinn Gold. Now, while this is wet, just drop it into some places. If it had started to dry, that'll be even better. Oh, yeah, look at that. I don't know if you can see that on the video. You don't have to put some everywhere, just somewheres, okay? Okay, let's keep going with our olive now. So, if I'm looking at the photo, I might turn this upside down too, like that. Again, just a light touch gives you a way different effect. Okay, kind of like that. And this might need a bunch more limbs in it yet. I don't want to get it totally solid. I want to keep some openings in there. I think I'll pick up a little bit of permanent brown. And I'll just add that to my Quinn Gold. Oh, that's nice. Now, we've got to be careful and not do too much of it. I don't want to kill all my greens. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Now, my plan is to also do just a tiny bit of lifting to this after it's dry. You know, a Mr. Magic lift. So here I've got some gee, what is that green? I can't remember the name of the green. I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, I got some green here. I knew it a minute ago. Sap green. Kept wanting to say spring green. I knew that couldn't be right. So again, so let's do that, and then let's come in with some olive on top of it. Sophie. And see, all that does is that makes those lacy little edges. But if it's lacy all the way through, if you don't have any stronger areas, then that just gets trashy. So the idea is to come back in and pull it together. Leave a few little openings. But then when you get to the edges, you've got this nice effect. And some of that could dry a little bit, and you could have a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. Here's a little bit more of that sap green. I don't like that little spot there. I put a little thingy right out there in the middle, not touching anything. It doesn't look like it goes behind or anything. Let's fill that in. See, and then some of this can be stuff that hangs over the edge of the cliff. Getting a little bit different colors here too. And you know, you could break up some edges here too. You don't have to make it all just so. I probably want to do some adjusting to that. See, but I think that worked pretty well, even where I got the green up over the trunk. I can live with that. This is a little bit of that sparse look. You want more green down than you do the whites showing through, I think. But see, I'm just sort of going along connecting the dots. There. Okay. Now, one last thing that I might want to do to this. I might want to do a little bit of lifting. And I should probably have waited for this to dry. I think that's kind of cool. But if you wanted some lighter areas, or for that matter, you know, some kind of lost edges, I think that could be quite nice to have some lost edges. You could also come back in when this is totally dry and do little tweaks to it. But that's kind of working for me right there. So you can see how the photo is beautiful. I mean, if you could see the whole photo, the thing is gorgeous. But here it looks kind of jumbly and everything. By the time we work with it, it's got a little bit more strength graphic-wise, so it's really a stronger presentation. Let's see, let's just... You could do a little more wet and wet with a brush, or you could do wet on dry. But see, some of this can give it a little bit more character. So I really recommend with the whole thing coming back and noodling around with it a little bit, as it maybe before it's dry or as it dries. But we're looking to mostly make dark accents, although, you know, a little light coming through the trees could be nice too. So that is what we will do on the first lesson on this. We'll do a little practice thing, and then we will do the trees for real. And I don't know how long that's going to take. It may take a little bit. It may drag into the next class a little bit before we start the cliffs. And the cliffs, oh, I've got something great ironed out for that. I think it's great. Okay, bye. Okay, I decided I'm not quite through. So I want to put in some more little darks now that that's started to dry. I just couldn't help myself. Well, let's see. I've got a lot of wet paint because I just emptied those Cheap Joe tubes. Remember, never buy Quin Gold, or I think Quin Coral, from anybody but Daniel Smith. When your paint's fresh, you got to be real careful not to contaminate it with something else. So I may have a few too many little openings in there too. I think I wanted to leave some twinkles, but I think I have too many. But see, I could come back and add in a little more darks. So you got a little bit of shadow there. And you've been noodling around with this brush, doing splatter trees. So you're probably getting the hang of that. Now the problem is I don't want to cover too much area with this dark. I want to skip around and make some shadow areas. See, that puts this little spot behind that spot. And I've got those light areas. I'm going to leave those light. So I don't want to get up too close to those. Oh dear, that's symmetrical again. There's something about like that. And you could have some of that happening in here too. Yeah, I think I've got a few too many openings in here too. I think they'd be better dark. Some openings are good. Too many twinkles and it starts to become too textured. Remember, these are small items, and so a lot of twinkles just kind of can overpower them. So I'm going to fill in some of those. Yeah, I think I'll fill that in. And that. Doesn't mean I get rid of all of them. This is a little much too. That's better. See, some bigger openings, and then the little bitty twinkles, I'm getting rid of them. But I'm making them dark, so they're they blend in. That was a brilliant plan on my part. Sometimes when you're fixing something, it turns out better than if you hadn't messed up and had to fix it. Well, sometimes. Yeah, there. Okay. Now it's done. But see how much play time there is in there and possibilities as you mess with it. I think this is just wonderful fun. I could get to where I like landscapes. Well, maybe.